So I'm going to start a new project. It's some ceramic side tables actually. I'm interested in doing some furniture design pieces. So these ceramic tables are about typically about 18 inches tall by anywhere between 12 to 15 inches in diameter on the top. So here I'm gonna just show you some sketches and how I go about designing new pieces. So let's get to it. The idea is essentially almost like a irregular, it's almost like a rock, you know, you're like, the surface is kind of irregular in terms of the top. It's not irregular in terms of it's flat, but the top profile is irregular. So, and then it kind of, you know, comes down like this, and it's almost very stone-like in terms of its the way it looks. So the idea is that it's almost like something like a piece of stone that was found, but it's clay. So this is one option where, you know, both the top profile and the sides are irregular, or I can do something where it's almost like a cube, but it's just slightly off from a cube maybe, in terms of the top, and then the sides also are maybe just slightly off, you know, so it's a little bit more almost cube-like. It's just a little bit not, you know. So anyway, the way I would do something like this is I would probably put like a cardboard box inside of it, and then add clay to it. Or I might actually add little pieces of cardboard to create the little, you know, bump outs, and then maybe even some newspaper, you know, to sort of like create different shapes, like add newspaper here like this, and then it'll create a little bit of a bump out, and then lay pieces of clay on the side of it, and connect it. So those are some ideas to do like an irregular type, you know, piece. And then there's another one that I want to do that I saw that was interesting, is maybe something like where I extrude some pieces of clay, some tubes. So I have a nice extruder, and do like several, maybe like 3 legs, you know, and then 3 legs, and then maybe do like a top. So it'll be like, you know, something like that. You're obviously not going to see maybe do like a little lip here. So this piece could be thrown on the wheel. You wouldn't see through there. It's basically like a side table like that. And this is all different pieces of clay. I saw some that were kind of marbled looking, so they seem like they combine 2 different clay bodies. And so then, you know, it would naturally have different clay, like it could be light and dark. So it would have a natural kind of variation in terms of the actual clays. That'd be marble, different colors. So it could be light and dark clays. And then the body itself would, you know, obviously be just the combination of those 2 clays. And then the third table that I'm thinking about doing is basically 2 thrown pieces. So essentially, if you look at it from a profile front view, it would be something like this. And then, you know, make something like this, in which both of these are thrown pieces that are combined together. So the way it would look is basically I would throw a piece like this upside down. So in other words, if this is the pottery wheel here, this piece would be like thrown this way, right? So it'd be open. So that's the cross section, right? So the piece would be thrown like this, and then there'd be an opening here, right? And then this piece would also be thrown on the wheel as well. It'll be thrown like this on the wheel. So basically there are two halves, you know? Or, I'm trying to think how I would do it. I could do this the opposite way actually. So basically I would throw it like this, right? So the bottom is here, and this is open. That way, when I attach it this way, there'll be a flat surface to attach this to. And then I'll have the bottom open, right? Which will be better, I think. So anyway, those are just some concepts that I'm working on to, in terms of tables or side tables that I'd like to do. Just showing you some of my process and what I do to design new pieces. As a designer, I do sketches and then I sort of get an idea of, so after, for example, something like this here, how would I, turn that into actual design? Well, I might, do something like where I would actually just do an overall dimension, like, okay, so if I was looking at it from one front view here, how would I design this piece? I might do something like, well, overall height, I want to start at, maybe 18 inches. And then overall width, 15, right? And then, so then I have to think about, okay, if there's a clay, if there's something inside of it that I need to put in, and I'll probably give like at least 2 inches of space around it, or an inch, then I have to think about how big this piece is gonna be, right? So this will be like 15 minus 4, whatever that is. I'm really bad at math. Is that 11? Yeah, 11 inches. And then in terms of this internal structure as well, it would be 18 minus 2, which is about 16, yeah. So, I mean, this is how I figure out like what I need to do to get, I showed you the overall dimensions of the final product, which I wanted to be around 15 inches in diameter overall and 18 inches high. And for those things, one of the things that you do have to take into consideration is clay shrinkage rate. So for example, if that clay body that I'm using shrinks 12%, it typically shrinks more on the height side. I think it's related to gravity than to width. So there are calculations you can do to help you to figure out exactly how much it's going to shrink, usually like 1 or 2 inches or half an inch or whatever, depending on the clay. And then it's, every clay is different because when they do add some additives to it, like ROG, which is pre-fired clay, it tends to shrink less versus clay bodies that are like porcelain, for example, which shrinks a lot and moves a lot. So it depends on what kind of clay body you end up using to figure out the shrink rates. And so that's my process, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like this kind of content, please think about subscribing because I plan on posting fairly regularly and showing you my process. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you at the next video.